At some point, as an online service provider, a coach, creator, or expert, you stop asking, how do I grow faster? And you start asking, why can't I create consistent client bookings, even though I'm doing so much? If that question has been sitting in the back of your mind, this video is for you. In the last video, linked in the description below, we talked about focus and stability, about how consistent revenue doesn't come from doing everything, but from knowing what actually matters in your business. In this video, I want to apply that idea specifically to social media, not to teach tactics, not to tell you which platform to use, but to help you decide whether the way you're using social media is actually supporting consistency or quietly adding pressure. Most people think the question is, which platform should I be on? But that's not really it. The real question is the way I'm using social media helping me create consistent revenue, or is it making my business feel unstable? Because a lot of burnout doesn't come from lack of effort. Oh no, it doesn't come from lack of effort. It comes from doing too many things without the containment needed in order to keep you sustainable over time. Now, keep this in mind. All social media platforms share the same foundation: marketing, sales, messaging, but each one has a different personality. They move at different speeds, they reward different behaviors, they attract different types of buyers, and when you try to treat all platforms the same or be everywhere all at once, all the time, things start to feel really scattered. Not because you're doing it wrong. That's not what I'm saying. You're not doing anything wrong. Actually, you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. But it's because you're trying to use too many tools at the same time. I'll use Facebook as an example because it's familiar to most people, but this applies to social media in general. Facebook works quickly because of the following reasons. You can connect with people immediately. As a business owner, this is something that you might want to think about, but it also depends on what stage you're in, because you also have conversations fast on social media, and trust builds through interaction. That's why people make money there. But here's the big but. The flip side of the coin is it requires being on a lot, responding quickly, managing conversations as they come along, and constant engagement. For some people, for some business owners, that feels energizing. For others, it slowly becomes exhausting, even when it's working. And that's where the confusion begins to start in. We start adding more instead of taking a step back and asking what is essential. Now, burnout usually isn't caused by social media itself. Not really. It's caused by trying to do everything everywhere all at once and not putting restrictions around social media use in the first place. There needs to be boundaries, because social media wants you on all the time. Now, most people aren't just using every part of one platform. This is where the problem comes in. There are multiple platforms on top of that. And even if we look at just one like Facebook, there's already a lot to know and understand, like posting, stories, groups, DMs, comments, lives, friend requests, networking events, all the things. Trying to do a challenge on Facebook is a lot of work. And that's a full ecosystem all by itself, just Facebook alone. So when you're also trying to keep up with Instagram or LinkedIn or something else, what usually happens is this: you start copy pasting the same post everywhere just to get it done. Not because you don't care, but because you're overwhelmed. It's kind of like when you take on a major decluttering task. At some point along the way, you just get to the point where you're just kind of going through the motions. Now, at that point, you're not being strategic anymore. You're just trying to survive the workload. This is also where some people say, I'll just hire someone to take on that task. That way it'll buy me back more time. Well, you can hire people to handle DMs, reels, stories, or groups. But if you're not really clear on how people actually move from who is this to becoming a client, adding people to the mix, adding a team, doesn't fix the problem. It just adds more confused people. It usually adds more cost in both time and money, because now you're paying for activity inside a system that still isn't creating consistent income. Clarity has to come first. It comes before the tools, before the platforms, and even before you seek out help, because you got to understand what you need help with in the first place. So you need one clear answer to this question: what is the step on this platform that actually brings clients into my business? Ask that question. That's a very important question. Everything else after that is optional. It's basically asking, how do I bring money into my business consistently? Now, this is something I really want to normalize. And this is what it's about when I say sink into slowness and go slow. This is when you need to go slow. You're allowed to reassess. You're allowed to say, this worked before, but it doesn't fit now, because every business changes with every step of growth that's involved with it. Say, I want consistency, not constant activity. I want stability before I scale again. Those are the things that you need. That's not quitting in business. That's just going slow and digging a little deeper. That's actually thinking like a business owner. Now, here's something you can do today. Sit down and write this out. On social media, what is the one action that actually leads people to my services? Not likes, not comments, not followers. The real step that leads to a client signing on into your services. If you can't answer that clearly, that's not a motivation issue. It's a system issue. And if you can, start working your way backwards from there and find out how you get them there. And clarity here alone can remove a lot of pressure around how you bring clients into your services and creating consistent income. So this is exactly the kind of clarity we build inside Cash and Clients Without Chaos as I guide you through your process towards more consistent income and 5-figure months. Not by telling you what platform to use, but by helping you design a client acquisition process that fits these areas: how you sell, how your clients buy, and what you can actually sustain as a business owner and where you are now in this season of your business. Because consistency doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what fits. Now, don't get me wrong, social media can be an incredible tool, but it doesn't have to be everything. So think more stability first, clarity second, scale later. And if this conversation around social media and consistency hit for you, check out the next video YouTube is recommending for you. It'll take this conversation one step deeper.